Greetings, travelers. Welcome back to the Wild Review for Fracture in Alterac Valley. This time for the Paladin class. Paladin's been kind of down and out recently. Odd Paladin got neutered substantially. Call to Arms Paladin decks like Tax Paladin aren't particularly strong either. They used to be really good. Hand buff used to be good. It's less good. So there's a lot of room for improvement, for things to kind of nudge those archetypes back into being more powerful options. There might be room for new archetypes, but looking at the cards from Alterac Valley, it doesn't look like there's that much that really promotes new archetypes that much. Let's see if these cards really help bolster what Paladin's got going on at all. Starting with Calvary Horn. 5 mana 3/2 weapon. With Death Rattle, summon the lowest cost minion in your hand. Obviously not a very strong weapon because of how expensive it is, as far as like weapons go. As a tool for a deck like Big Paladin, Dual Paladin, something like that wants to cheat out big minions, it's not that bad. It's like a turn 6 play. Like you play it on turn 5, you get the payoff on turn 6. Falls in line with mana cheat options that a lot of other classes have. Like a priest has Shadow Essence on 6 mana, a shaman has Eureka on 6 mana, stuff like that. So like this is a turn 6 play that makes a lot of sense. This is also a lot like the Demon Hunter card that's being released in the set 2 Sigil of Reckoning, which is a turn 5 play that summons you big things on turn 6. So a lot of parallels there. In order to make the most of this card, you, just like the Demon Hunter card, you have to be playing big minions. Unlike the Demon Hunter card, you get extra value with it. You get a weapon, you can deal damage, you can control the board. Probably about as strong as Sigil of Reckoning. I think if you put Sigil of Reckoning in B tier, you also have to put Calvary Horn in B tier. Hold the Bridge is a 3 mana holy spell. Give a minion +2/+1 and Divine Shield. It gains lifesteal until end of turn. This reminds me of Seal of Champions, which is -1 attack but plus lifesteal. That card was occasionally playable for like Cold Arms Paladin decks, Odd Paladin, stuff like that. Lifesteal is pretty powerful. This card probably isn't going to be a universal inclusion, but it has uses, has potential. We'll call this one B tier. Protect the Innocent, 5 mana, summon a 5/5 defender with Taunt. If your hero was healed this turn, summon another. I think this card is going to be kind of tricky to get full value out of because you either need lifesteal minions in order to be able to play it for full value on curve, or you need to be able to play it alongside other healing cards, like something like Flashlight or Vitality Surge, which is another new card in the set. If you can make those conditions happen, then 5 mana for 10/10 worth of stats is respectable. It's not top tier or anything, but it's not bad. I think this card is probably a little narrow and gets overshadowed by better options, so it's not something you're going to see a ton of play, but it's definitely not the worst. So we'll call it C tier. Next is Stonehearth Vindicator, 3 mana 3/1 minion with Battlecry. Draw a spell that costs 3 or less. It costs 0 this turn. There are a lot of things that you can do with this card. The 3 mana 3/1 draw card's probably somewhat playable, especially in Paladin. The fact that it mana cheats the thing that it draws is also pretty strong. So what can you do with it? It seems kind of underwhelming for drawing secrets and playing them, so you probably don't want it in a deck like that. But it also seems pretty good if you're playing it alongside Muster for Battle. Play this card, draw a Muster for Battle, play a Muster for Battle, get another 3/3 worth of stats with a weapon attached to it, all for 3 mana? That seems like a pretty good deal. I think it'll take a little bit of exploration to find the best home for this card, but so far it's one of the better cards I've seen in the entire set, which is interesting. We'll call this one B tier. Vitality Surge, 2 mana holy spell. Draw a minion, restore health to your hero equal to its cost. I don't know where you would put this. This compares to Holy Wrath, except instead of dealing damage, you gain life. The Holy Wrath deck doesn't want to be drawing its things except when you play Holy Wrath to kill your opponent, so I think on average, this probably gains maybe 3 to 5 life, so about 4 life, which is about the same as Flashlight. So you're drawing a minion instead of a random card. I mean, it could be okay, depending on what minions you have in your deck. Flashlight was a playable card. Flashlight was probably a B tier card. I think calling this card B tier is probably generous, but we're gonna do it anyway. Next up is Brasswing, 8 mana 9/7 dragon. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all enemies. Honorable kill, restore 4 health to your hero. People have already compared this to Barongeddon. This card is better than Barongeddon. Barongeddon is bad though. Barongeddon hasn't been playable in years. This card probably isn't that much more playable than Barongeddon. So yeah, we're gonna D tier this one. Next is Seiden the Scarlet, 3 mana 2/2 rush. Whenever this minion gains attack or health, double that amount, wherever this is. So this card obviously fits into the hand buff Paladin deck pretty seamlessly. Playing this with Grime Street Outfitter plus Smuggler's Run plus Glowstone Tech means that you're probably going to make this like a 10/10 or something. The turn you summon it very easily. Like this thing gets very big very quick. 3 mana 10/10 with rush. I think you'd quite, like you'd play that, right? Why wouldn't you? I'd play it in anything. Like being able to enable this in hand buff, like it's kind of disappointing, I guess, that this card doesn't have like Lifesteal or Divine Shield or something. Are we really in a world where like I'm looking at a 3 mana like 10/10, 12/12 rush minion and I'm like, boy, this would be a hell of a lot more playable with Divine Shield or Lifesteal, lol. Anyway, yeah, this card's really good. Probably fits in just about any deck that you would put Blade Master Samuro in and Paladin. It gets buffs from other places too, so like you can play this alongside like Keleseth, play it with Hand of It All. There's so much potential with this card. We're gonna call this one A tier. Next is Templar Captain, 8 mana 8/8 rush. After this, attacks a minion, summon a 5/5 defender with taunt. This kind of reminds me of Illidari Inquisitor. Same stat line, gets a benefit, but doesn't do as much damage up front, but it makes minions, so it's pretty respectable. The dual Paladin deck that plays Calvary Horn probably plays this. It seems like a decent enough card in the deck that wants it. Most Paladin decks are probably not going to want it, but okay. So we'll call this one C tier. Next is Dun Baldar Bridge, 4 mana, objective card. After you summon a minion, give it +2/+2 last 3 turns. This card actually does seem pretty powerful. I'm curious about the timing of it, right? Because if you spend your entire turn 4 playing this, like if you play this on curve, you're not doing anything else unless you have like 0 mana minions somehow. I like Quarter Creeper or something. The +2/+2 that you get on following turns though, you can probably like on turn 5, you have a lot of mana and can summon a lot of things most of the time. Giving them all +2/+2 buffs is pretty strong. The same thing for the following turn. The trick is at 4 mana, you're taking a very important turn off to be able to play this. So it's really rough as far as tempo goes. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I think people are going to experiment with it, but I think it's going to end up falling flat, so I'm going to C tier it. All right, the last card for Paladin, Lightforged Cariel, 7 mana hero, battle cry, deal 2 damage to all enemies, equip a 2/5 immovable object. So this card actually has a lot of pieces to it. The immovable object is a 7 mana 2/5 weapon that never loses durability, and your hero takes half damage, rounded up. So taking half damage is relevant just about always. If you're stable and you play Caryl, you're probably going to become very difficult to kill, at least as long as the immovable object exists. You can attack with this basically infinitely if you wanted to. It's a pretty slow win con on its own, but I'm sure you can figure out something else to do while you're smacking around with this. So Caryl turns you into a tank. The Consecration battle cry helps ensure that you are stable after you play Caryl. The hero power doesn't really fit in with the rest of it, I think, but the hero power is pretty strong too. 2 mana, give a random minion in your hand +4/+4 Blessing of Queens. +4/+4 buffs are pretty strong for 2 mana. This isn't targeted, so it can be a little awkward, but for 2 mana, it's a pretty good value. I think Caryl so far is one of the stronger of the heroes that we've looked at least as far as Wild goes, because Wild this doesn't like up front enable some degenerate combo or be some over-the-top win condition. It does a very concrete thing where it just makes you very difficult to kill. And then the hero power being able to buff minions turn after turn after turn translates into repeatable, consistent value in a way that a lot of the other heroes don't really touch on. It seems pretty straightforward. I think the trick with this card is, where does it go, right? Because Odd Paladin doesn't want it. The Call to Arms decks probably don't want it. Hand buff might want it, but it's expensive for hand buff, and hand buff isn't really very interested in turtling. Is there a control Paladin, maybe a dual Paladin, like OTK Paladin, unless it's like Holy Wrath? Like old Uther OTK obviously does not want this card because it's dead after you play Uther if you play Uther early, so it's kind of awkward. Holy Wrath Paladin, maybe? I think putting this card in B tier is ambitious, but I think this card is just straight up stronger than the other ones we've seen so far. Anyway, the Paladin set for Alterac Valley is actually a little above average compared to some of the rest. A lot of these cards have very obvious homes and seem to do well where they go, or just powerful cards in their own right, like Seiden or Stonehearth Vindicator, right? Caryol's a pretty decent hero too. I see tons of potential with these cards. Whether or not they actually do see a ton of play is, I mean, that's still up in the air, but at least these cards excite me, unlike basically everything Hunter got. Unfortunate. Anyway, next class up is the Priest class. That's it for this video. Hope to see you with the next video. Thanks for watching.